Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. When we finished last year, we started Law of Progress, which is Chapter 8 of Book 3. We did the first item. Now we are going to start on the second item, question 779, the March of Progress. Okay? So we know that the law of progress is one of the divine laws, God's laws, and progress happens naturally. And we are going to study a little bit more on the issues that that comes with humankind helping or trying to prevent progress, how it works. So, Philip, thanks.
The march of progress.
Thank you.
Do humans contain a force within them that propels them forward on the path of progress? Or is it their progress only the product of education? Human beings develop themselves naturally. Human beings do not progress at the same rate or in the same manner. This is why the most advanced help others move forward through social contact.
Yeah, so the concept here, the first concept is the law of progress is imprinted in our conscience, like all the natural laws. They are all imprinted in our conscience. So it is something that it's part of who we are. And you can think of, if you think of primitive people, right? When they were just trying to survive, to find shelter, to procreate, to feed themselves. That's all they thought about during their life. Were they progressing? Yes, right? Because with the basic intelligence concepts that they had, combined with the instinct that they had, they were learning from their daily experiences and progressing, right? So they went to a place that was very dangerous for them. They wouldn't go back to that place because they learned that the place is dangerous. They found a place where they could find food easier than other places. They would go back to that place. So it's a learning experience. The more evolved animals have more or less the basic instincts, right? And the very basic intelligence. You see from dogs and cats, they learn from their own what they do. They learn where to find food. They learn how to, where to go and where not to go. So you can see that this is imprinted in the conscience, right? Now, as the spirits tells us here, of course, we do not progress at the same rate because we learn at different speeds. We may start at the same level, but each one of us progress at their own pace according to their desire, their inclinations, and their willingness to move forward, right? But of course, this creates differences. We have spirits at different levels at our stage. We have spirits at different levels of evolvement that we help each other so we can evolve as society. We cannot evolve by ourselves, right? Of course, the moral intellectual progress is individual, but the intellectual and moral progress happens when we are learning from others, we are teaching others, learning from others, interacting with others. That's why, we are going to study the law of society, or we did study the law of society, right? That teach us that we need to live in society. So that's how we evolve. And again, the progress is moral and intellectual, right? Moral progress, eliminating the imperfections, and learning to differentiate good from evil. Intellectual progress, accumulating knowledge on top of what we already know, right? Okay?
Question 780. Does moral progress always follow intellectual progress? It is the result, but it does not always follow immediately. How can intellectual progress lead to moral progress? By making human beings gain an understanding of good and wrongdoing, they can then choose between them. The development of free will follows the development of intelligence and increases the accountability of human actions. Subsection B. How is it then that the most intellectually evolved are often the most deviant? Complete and integral progress is the purpose of life, but nations, like individuals, reach it gradually. Until the moral sense is developed, they may even employ their intelligence in doing evil. Moral sense and intellect are two forces that are balanced over the course of time.
Okay. So what we learn from the spirits is that moral progress normally follows intellectual progress. It's not always like that, and it doesn't have to be like that. There can be spirits that are morally evolved more than they are intellectually evolved, but that will be the exception. Most of us, at our level of evolvement, we are more evolved intellectually than morally. We just have to look around and we'll see that, right? But the evolvement on both sides, it doesn't go together, but also it doesn't go all the way on one side without the other follow. Because intellectual progress, let's talk, because most of us evolve more intellectually than morally. Eventually, it reaches a point where if we don't evolve morally, we cannot progress intellectually. In the book Liberation, right, that we study the case of one of the leaders of the dark lower zones, Gregorio, a former pope, he was very evolved intellectually. And for many centuries, he was the leader of that area. But he reached a point, and they describe that in the book, where he could no longer, it doesn't say like that, but we understand by interpreting it. He could no longer evolve intellectually. He reached a point where he reached a ceiling, and with that, he became bored of what he was doing. And once he became bored, he opened the window for help and assistance from the spirits to reach him. So the whole story of the book is the rescue that comes from his mother, because of course this type of spirit, they are more willing to listen to their mother. So his mother, they start working towards him until he meets his mother and she rescues him. So it's a very good example of how intellectual progress reaches a point that it cannot go any further if you don't have the moral side move also. And the other way around is also true, but that it's more difficult for us to talk about it, because what's the level? What's the level of the moral evolvement that will force the spirit to have some intellectual progress? That will be an individual decision, because a spirit that is highly evolved morally, the spirit will understand that she or he need to learn more intellectually, that for him, he or she to continue because a morally evolved spirit is helping others, right? Is always assisting others, always trying to be of service. But and we can see here some people that are very dedicated to their professions, right? They may reach a point that they say, wow, I'm very good at what I do, but I need to learn more. I need to learn in different directions. So it's a personal decision. And I believe that the moral evolvement, if it goes a lot higher than the intellectual progress, the spirit itself we want to come as an incarnate with an opportunity to develop the intellectual side. And for this type of spirit, of course, it's much easier, right? Because he already has the moral evolved. So we will come here with all the right approach and intention, and we will have the ability to choose the best path for them, and will very likely follow the path, and then you see someone that is helping humanity, not in terms of not predominantly in terms of charity, but in terms of intellectual progress, research, or achieving new things in science or in other areas that will help humanity evolve. So they will be helping all the time because they're morally evolved spirits. But maybe they won't be the Mother Teresa types of spirits here. They'll be more on the intellectual side of progress, but with a very moral side of it. And then the second question, the part A, the spirits talk about how intellectual progress lead to moral progress. We talked about it, right? Because the more we grow intellectually, we learn what is good and what is evil. Even those spirits that are focused on taking advantage of their intellectual progress, deep down they know what is right and what is wrong, right? And eventually they will have to reflect on the necessity of making the right choices. So it will lead to moral progress. It may take some time, but it will. And of course, the last question that Kardec asked the spirits, how sometimes you see the most intellectually evolved are often the most deviant. Again, if you have a lot of intelligence and you don't have the moral qualities, you are going to abuse your intelligence. You can imagine that this will happen, right? And you combine that with power, and you are going to cause a lot of chaos and harm to others, right? But moral sense, as they say here, moral sense and intellect are two forces that are balanced over the course of time. So eventually, all of the spirits will have to balance. Of course, those that abuse their intellectual capacity, they will come with more limited abilities to manifest themselves. We just studied that in a chapter of the book Action and Reaction, right? Someone that incarnated completely unable to manifest physically, cannot see, cannot hear. It's physically impaired, mentally impaired, physically impaired, and this is a consequence of the abuse of previous incarnations using the power, the moral, the intellectual knowledge. So eventually, you'll have to face the consequences. Okay?
I think it's important to keep in mind that the course of time, it only makes sense, especially for us, with the concept of reincarnation. We are not talking about of one lifetime here.
Yeah.
Make sure they understand that. Because it will balance out someone that in this present incarnation uses all of its energies, developing intellectual abilities and misusing it, when you go back to the spiritual world, you have an opportunity to revisit, to waste the opportunities. And the next opportunity, you put more effort towards the moral, because he will do or she will do the consequences of the action in the spiritual world. And you can meet back here with the opportunity of reparation. So reincarnation takes care of this balancing throughout the time, not taking away our free will, of course, but in the long run, then reincarnations will balance things out.
I think he answered.
Yes, certainly.
He answered my, and it's not a question or anything, it's just a comment. That I think I need to relax about my intelligence, because maybe at this age, I came here for more moral than intelligence.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Yeah,
So I have to wait till I reincarnate for the intelligent part.
well, the opportunity of learning is always available to us, right? It's just that, again, we are imperfect spirits. I'm not a doctor in this incarnation, and I have no interest in medicine in this incarnation. I'll have to come back another one, maybe. Or maybe I was already interested in that, but this time I didn't. I did other areas. So, but, we should always try to learn things. And as we get older, we should try to learn things that interest us, right? Because to make an effort to learn something new on something that you find it boring, or it's, when you are young, you should learn everything that is available to you. As you get older, you choose. But we shouldn't, it's stop trying to learn. We should always try to learn something different, right? Because it's, it helps us, right? So, there are people that love music but never had time to learn to play an instrument. And they say, oh, I'm too old to learn. No, try, You are not going to be a virtuoso, of course, when you start at 60 years old. But you can learn to play the instrument and can have some fun playing an instrument, right? And it's learning. It's always learning, right? And it helps the brain and things like that. So that's what's important, is for us to continue learning, because we're going to carry with us the learning, right? The things that we learn, the intellectual progress stays with us. We may not bring to a new incarnation because we need to develop other areas, right? So if you are a genius in mathematics, you're not going to come in the next incarnation as a genius in mathematics again, because otherwise you are not going to learn something else. You need to be that a little bit in the background of your, in the subconscious or the unconscious. You're going to be good in math, right? Because it's there, but you're not going to be a genius because you need to focus in, I don't know, arts, let's say. So that's how we progress, right? The moral side you always bring. Every incarnation, you bring everything that you will have advanced morally, you bring with you. So I use, normally I say as a joke, right? Once you become patient, you will always be patient. You're never going to lose your patience again. If you lost your patience, it's because you didn't have it in the first place, right? So the moral qualities you bring with it, because they are part of who you are, and you need the moral qualities to help you continue your evolution. Okay?
And the relationship between the two wings, moral and intellectual, is a symbiotic relationship. One pull the others forward. They're not competing with another. They're not competitive.
Yeah.
As you go a little bit further, the moral pushes the intellect. So the intellect goes a little bit higher, and usually goes a little bit higher. And then you go this symbiotic going up and up and up towards the perfection that awaits us. So try to learn as much as you can of any field. It's always good at any age.
Yeah, and again, the moral part is more difficult. So let's say, I don't want to learn anything more. I'm tired of learning. I want to focus on different things. So try to develop your moral side, right? Learn be humble, learn patience, learn there is always an opportunity. There are always, we can always find imperfections that we need to improve, right? And by helping others, practicing charity, we are evolving morally, and we are evolving intellectually, kind of unconsciously, not focusing on that. But every time you are trying to help someone, you are learning something, right? You are evolving on the intellectual side because you need to learn new resources on how to help those in need. And with that, it's intellectual development.
The only reason that you have to worry about ethical, moral use of social media is because intellectual progress develops social media.
Yeah.
You have that, now you have something to push you morally forward. It is how do you use this wonderful instrument that is purely intellectual development. To that, now you have to add the moral aspect, ethical, moral usage of this instrument, because otherwise the world's going to become even worse than what it is already.
Yeah, Australia just last month forbid the up to 16 years old to use social media, right? You can no longer use social media. It's an experiment. I'm not going to say it's the right one or the wrong one, but it is an experiment, needed experiment, that we need to learn how, because it's causing damage to the younger ones, right? Social media. So completely forbid is the right choice? Probably not. But from that, we are going to learn how to separate the things that are good or not, right? So, like I almost said, it's an intellectual evolvement. We need to bring the moral side to it now. How we do it, we need to learn also.
Well, we're probably going to suffer and just say you have to stop suffering. Let's do something about it. And then you recognize that it's through moral and ethical usage of the instrument.
Yeah. Okay. 781.
Do human beings have the power to halt progress? No, but they can hamper it sometimes. What should we think of those who attempt to halt progress and make the human race regress? God will punish them. They will be overthrown by the flow they want to stop. Progress is a condition of human nature, and no one can prevent it. It is a living force that bad laws may hamper, but not smother. When these laws become incompatible, progress breaks them down and continues to do so until the laws of humankind match divine justice, which wills the best for everyone, and until all laws made by the strong to the detriment of the weak are eradicated.
Yeah, this is a very good question for the times we're living, right? Because we have seen throughout the world attempts to halt progress, in a sense, right? Or to choose different paths. You know, the spirits are very clear here. They can hamper it sometimes. Spirits, human beings can hamper it sometimes, yes. And it happens all the time, right? I talk about this here a lot. 150 years ago, when we had slavery in this country, there were a lot of individuals fighting hard to prevent the abolition, right, of slavery. Where are they? Right? What are the names? Right? What are the names of those who fought for the abolition? Abraham Lincoln, Sojourner, what, forgot her last name. You know the names, right? So what we have to be sure here is that progress happens. Individuals that try to prevent progress, they will face the consequences of their actions. It's not that God will punish them, but the natural law will cause them to face the consequences. they will be overthrown by the flow they want to stop, right? Think about slavery. Happened, freedom happened for all of them. It wasn't perfect. We still had another 100 years of discrimination. Discrimination became illegal 50 years ago, but there still exists, right? We still see discrimination, persecution. We see attempts at forcing discrimination to be back into the customs of the people. But, through Spiritism, if we try to remember that the law of progress is a natural law, it is going to happen. All those trying to prevent progress to happen will return to the spiritual world, and new ones will replace them. I think if you think of the Roman times, right, the time of Jesus, we used to go to the arena to cheer wild animals eating people, right? We found it amusing, right? You can count in small numbers the number of people that still find it amusing today. I'm sure there are very few, but the vast majority of humankind of all different types, even those that are dedicated to evil, don't like to see it, right? And it used to be part of our entertainment, right? 2,000 years ago. So everything that I'm sure that someday in the distant future, or not so distant, I hope, we are going to look back and see how could we fight wars? How barbarian we were to fight wars and killed each other for material possessions, right? But now you still have a lot of people. Why wars exist? Because there are people that think that it's the right solution, right? So if we look at wars, right? Wars have evolved, right? Nowadays there is already an effort to cause less damage to innocents in wars. We're still not there. But if you look at the Second World War, they will throw bombs to destroy cities with everybody. The atomic bombs killed the whole city and the whole population, right? Nowadays, you already see hesitation to do things like that. So from there to here, from the future, there will be from hesitation to not doing to stopping war. Now, how long is it going to take it? Well, depends on us, right? And of course, we are not going to see in this incarnation, but we are going to see it eventually as spirits or in another incarnation, because the law of progress, it's a natural law. It's God's law. So when laws become incompatible, as Kardec says here, progress breaks them down and continues to do so until the laws of humankind match divine justice. So we need human laws, but sometimes many of human laws are distorted laws, are unjust laws, right? And they will, because they are human laws, they are imperfect, they will be removed as we progress, right? I always remember what I almost said, right, about the Swedish with the cars, right? Because they decided that it was important for all the cars to have the lights on during the whole day, whenever they were turned on, to have the lights on. So they wanted to pass a law in Congress to approve that. And then they were studying the country, and they saw that they didn't need the law because everybody was already doing that, because they knew it was important. So you see how human law ends up aligning with what's best for everyone, right? But we need human laws. We are still far from not needing them, right? You can imagine when we have no laws, we see what happens, right? So, okay.
782. Are there individuals who honestly obstruct progress while believing that they are helping it move forward because they often regard something as progress that is not such? Yes, they are like small pebbles under the great wheel that cannot keep it from moving.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, right? Because we cannot think that all individuals that are trying to obstruct progress, they are doing out of evil intentions. Some of them truly believe that they are doing it right? So let's say for those that oppose some scientific advances and decide to believe that their interpretation of the scientific advances are different, right? It's not ill intended. They honestly believe that they are right. So they are not. They are like small pebbles under the great wheel that cannot keep it from moving. It will move. It will progress. Society will progress, right? So individuals that try to prevent progress honestly, the consequences that they will face will be according to their intention. It's always according to our intention. So, of course, those that try consciously to obstruct progress because they want personal advantages from it will face more difficult consequences than those that try to obstruct progress because they truly believe that's the right approach, right? I believe that this phone is white, and you tell me, no, it's black. I sincerely believe it's white. If I sincerely believe it's white, it's my problem. I'll have to learn eventually that it's black. But if I sincerely believe, the consequences of making these choices are not as serious as the ones who try to prevent progress, which is the majority, unfortunately, for personal advantages. For political advantages, for personal advantages, there are a lot of those. But amongst those, there are some that truly believe that that's the right approach because that's the right thing to do. So consequences will be according to our knowledge on everything that we do, right? We talked about this many times. You are responsible and you face the consequence according to the knowledge of what you are doing. Paco.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, those pebbles that we define, that we do find, what's the purpose of those pebbles in the greater scheme of things? What would be the purpose? They good intentions, of course. Talking about the ones that do having good intentions behind. What would be the purpose, the objective? I don't know.
Yeah, but we could reflect on it.
Yeah.
The intention of the individuals themselves.
No, what is the benefit for everybody?
In the greater scheme, those little rocks that we find, the tiny rocks that we find, that they are emerging with good intentions, but what role do they play in the greater scheme of things?
You can think of an opportunity of learning, right? Because let's say everybody says that this, let's say a food, everybody says that this food is good for you. It's the scientific knowledge, is the common knowledge. Everybody thinks that is good. If there's someone that thinks that is not good, it will force a discussion. It will raise awareness. And from this awareness, even if that person is completely wrong, it gives an opportunity for some to go deeper, study more, to learn more. For that person also that is opposing to learn more. So my thought on that, I don't know if you something different though.
Yeah, it forces you. What you're saying is that those pebbles kind of force the process to even better itself.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
John and Paco, just a thought. Remember, detractors to Spiritism, in a way, according to Kardec, it helped Spiritism because eventually that the detractors would fall away, but that they had to be there to sort of push the envelope to make everybody look at it, to be more careful in their analysis. So in a way, it's part of the process.
Yeah.
Seems. I mean, it's generally the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Very good point. Very good point.
When there was this event in Barcelona that they burned all the Spiritist books, right? And Kardec said it was great. They can burn all the books, but they cannot burn the ideas, and it will attract the attention of those that never heard of it. What is these books that they are burning? I want to read those, right? So I think that, as you said, Carol, very good. Yeah, I think this Pebbles creates opportunities for people to learn also and to become more interested, right?
Yeah, very good, very good.
Okay.
783.
Yeah.
Does the improvement of humanity always follow a progressive and slow march? There is a regular slow progress that inevitably results from circumstances, but when a population does not advance quickly enough, God creates a physical or moral shock that hastens its transformation. Human beings cannot remain in a state of ignorance forever, because they must reach the goal God set for them. Circumstance enlightens them gradually. Moral revolutions, like social revolutions, are introduced into the minds of a nation slowly. They continue to evolve for centuries and suddenly sprout, toppling the crumbling structure of the past that is no longer in harmony with the goals and objectives of a new day. Human beings often perceive only the fleeting chaos and confusion that afflict them in their material interests. But those who raise their thoughts above themselves admire the divine planning that brings good out of evil. Such commotions are like a storm that purifies the atmosphere after disturbing it.
Yeah, so the law is of progress. Progress is slow, of course, because it takes us time to learn. We make mistakes. We should learn from our mistakes. We don't. We repeat the mistakes. We cause consequences for this. We create karmas for ourselves. So all of this multiplied by the whole population of Earth slows the progress. And we can see those trying to slow the progress, right? But progress happens slowly. And again, we have to take a bird's eye view to see progress as a whole. But the concept that the spirits introduce here, that when the population does not advance quickly enough, God creates a physical moral shock that hastens its transformation. It's in the sense of progress happens. When we try to prevent progress from happening, and we create conditions that really are making it difficult progress to happen, something happens that changes, right? And I always like to use the example of the Black Plague in Europe, right? Europe, it was in a state of very slow progress, almost no progress for 1,000 years, with the feudal system, with the division of classes, and eventually what happened? The Black Plague killed half to 2/3 of the population of Europe, some places half, some places 2/3, some places less, and that destroyed the feudal system, created the movements, and gave opportunity for the Renaissance to happen, right? Again, for us to see and analyze that, we need to look back from today, where we have no relatives dying from the Black Plague. We were there. Some part of this 1,000 years, we were there somewhere. Were we victims, died, or lost families? Maybe. And of course, when you are there in the middle of the turmoil, you cannot think, oh, this is important because it's progress. No, you are there suffering, you are struggling, you are trying to survive. But when we study the law of progress, we have to understand that these things happen, right? When you look at the tsunami, right, that killed 300,000 people 20 years ago. It's too early for us to understand why. We will understand one day. COVID, even now, but related to COVID, the Spanish flu, right, in the 1918 to 20, it was one of the main responsible for the end of World War I, right? Because the soldiers were getting sick, they couldn't find more people to go to war, so it ended up serving a purpose, right? So, but again, you cannot say to those that lost a family member through the Spanish flu or a family member through all this, on a tsunami, that, oh, it was important to happen. That's not the way to approach it. The way to approach is to understand that these things happen for a reason. Maybe we don't understand now. Maybe we will understand in 100, 200 years or someday, but they all happen for a reason. And that's the reason here. God creates a physical moral shock that hastens its transformation. It was important. The natural catastrophes, they are sometimes important for renewal of the planet, right? And as Kardec says here, human beings cannot remain in a state of ignorance forever. It's actually written unaware, and I think in a state of ignorance is a better translation of the original. Because we must progress. And we are going to progress, like it or not. It's a natural law. So we are going to go through these revolutions, right? And sometimes we only see the chaos, the confusion, but these things happen for a reason. It is the process of progress happening, and we'll eventually learn from it. Maybe not now, but one day. Okay.
784?
Yep.
The perversity of humankind is immense. It seems that human beings are regressing rather than advancing, at least in terms of morality. You are wrong. Look at the human race as a whole, and you will see that it is advancing. It has arrived at a clearer perception of what is evil and witnesses the reform of some kind of abuse every day. An excess of wickedness is required to show the need for good and the need for reforms.
Yes, that question is very, very interesting, right? Because this is something that we hear all the time outside spiritist circles, right? we are regressing, we're not advancing, we are going backwards. And when we sometimes, if you look around, we may even feel the same, right? But actually, we are progressing. And those that are here, remember, the Earth is on a path to change from a world of trials and atonements to a world of regeneration, where goodness will prevail over evil. Now we are still where evil prevails over goodness. But we can see the transformation, right? And again, we have to look at the human race as a whole, right? 200 years ago, how many people living in a good condition in terms of what we see today in some countries, right? Let's go far from here. Let's go to New Zealand, one of the good countries to live nowadays, right? That you have all of the benefits of the advancements of civilization nowadays, right? You have a good health system, good living conditions, and everything. They have discrimination there against the natives, right? They still have some. But if you go back 200 years there was no living conditions in a sense, right? So we are evolving. It's just that it happened there or in Denmark or in Sweden before it happens in other places in the world. But it is all moving forward, right? You are living better nowadays, wherever you are, than the same place 200 years ago. Here in this country, right? You just have to watch the movie Gangs of New York to see the difference between New York today and New York 200 years ago, right? It was a completely different story. And again, it's New York, and we already had very nice areas with people living well, but the violence, the gangs, and were much more widespread than today. So we are advanced. And these people here, the interesting phrase is, an excess of weakness is required to show the need for good and the need for reforms. Because those that are good, that are trying to live a good life, can accommodate if everything goes well. Sometimes we don't make an effort. And sometimes what we need is disturbance. So we make an effort to make good prevail. We have more people trying to prevent these actions. And of course, you have those trying to cause harm, right? But this is all a necessity of progress that, if we did what we could do for the progress without having to be pushed, then we wouldn't have this excess of weakness, as they say here. But at our stage of evolution, most of people that are good people are, I'm not going to say lazy because it's not a good word, but they're accommodated to their lives, and they are not pushed to do anything better for society because they're comfortable. And when you have these challenges that is happening around us in the world, let's not talk about the country, in the world, we are the people that are willing to help humanity to evolve are going to work harder and unite in terms of making things change for the better and to prevent these things to happen. And what happens is that things go down and up, and it's not a progress, right? We will have the challenges.
The same thing with when you're working at a place where you're like, you need change, some kind of change. And then there comes a new supervisor or somebody a coworker who you just don't get along with, or that person doesn't get along with you, it makes you want to move forward and makes you want to elevate yourself or at least move somewhere else. So it is progress, and maybe you're going for a different job, but if you're getting the same pay, but still it's movement. So that makes you want to move.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that.
Situations change.
Sometimes you
You're
need,
too comfortable.
yeah, sometimes you need to be
Pushed.
pushed.
The disturbance. You need to be disturbed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the valley of temptation. That we bash on temptation, but temptation is good. Temptation pushes you to elevate your moral values.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is the last one of this item. Let's finish it. It's a long one.
785.
We'll finish it.
What is the greatest obstacle to progress? Pride and selfishness. This is in terms of moral progress, as intellectual progress is constant, and at first glance it seems to magnify those vices by developing ambition and the love of possessions and wealth. These feelings drive human beings to carry out the research that enlightens their minds, and this is how all things are linked together in the moral and physical worlds, and how good is eventually created out of inequity. This condition is only temporary and will change as human beings become aware that there is an infinitely greater, everlasting happiness beyond the realm of earthly pleasures. Two types of progress mutually support one another, but do not necessarily occur at the same rate. Intellectual progress or moral progress in civilized nations, the former is currently receiving a great deal of encouragement, and it has reached a degree of advancement that is incomparable to past ages. The second is very far from reaching the same point, although if we compare the social values across centuries, we are forced to admit that progress has also been made in this direction. Why has progress stalled in morality that more than in intelligence? Why should there be less of a difference between the morality of the 19th and 24th centuries than between the 14th and the 19th? Not questioning the consistency of moral progress would be to assume either that the human race has reached the peak of perfection, which would be ridiculous, or that it is not morally perfectible, which experience contradicts.
Okay, so here it's very important the first phrase, right? The greatest obstacle to progress, pride and selfishness, right? Because pride and selfishness, you are thinking about yourself before you're thinking about others. All of us, one way or another, have these imperfections, right? More or less, one more, the other less, both of them more, both of them less, but we have it. It's a characteristic of imperfect spirits to have pride and selfishness. Now, as I almost say here, right? What happens here? Intellectual progress and moral progress are constant, but they happen at different levels. The intellectual progress creates new needs, creates ambition, creates new wealth, and creates new desires. And of course, when we fall trap of these material desires, is because of our pride and selfishness, right? We need to have the latest car model. We need to have the latest phone model because we need to show off, right? So for us to have the latest phone model, someone needs to be working on developing new phone models, right? So this is intellectual progress. Is it benefiting humanity? Yes, it is, because at the same time that there are many using the phones just to exhibit themselves, there are those that are using the phones for important things, right? You know, for nowadays, I was watching a TV program the other day, right? You have a family patient, a patient that is being under surgery, right? Nowadays, you have an app. Some hospitals have an app that you can follow the progress of the surgery as it happens, right? Again, it's an advantage of the phone, it's an intellectual development. Now, of course, this brings the moral evolution also slower, but it also brings, because as we discussed before, eventually they will balance each other, like Elmo says. We balance both. What the differences and the iniquity, it's temporary and will change as humanity evolves, right? So what, let's say a country, talking about countries, a country that is less developed than other countries have envy of the other countries. So people there will try to work hard to achieve the levels of knowledge that the other countries have, and will help their own country evolve, right? Of course, the other way around, other countries have their developments that they want to sell to other countries, right? So they are trying to take advantage economically, yes, but they are helping the less evolved countries also, because they are bringing technology, they are bringing things that will help them grow. I was watching a small documentary on China, on the developments that are happening in China nowadays, right? Because of the strong government, they can impose things, and they have, flying cars. You already have a flying car in China, going from one place to another, right? And it's being used there, and it's working. And you have flying deliveries with drones. Already you order, and it comes from a drone and lives at your door without anyone driving it. So all these technologies help us, makes us live a better life. Of course, it brings pride, selfishness, competition. We're, jealous of what the others have that we don't have. So let's, you have two ways, right? Attack them and destroy them, which is the inferior feelings, or work hard to create something even better than what they have, which leads to intellectual development, right? So that's how we evolve, right? As Kardec says here, the two types of progress mutually support one another, liking or not, because it is intellectual progress are going to make us more evolve morally. Because why nowadays you have information at your disposition immediately, right? You want to know what's happening in China, you can access immediately. You have an accident, big accident in China, you know immediately. 100 years ago, it took a week. 200 years ago, it took 1 month for you to know of an accident, and there was nothing that you could do. Nowadays, why we know immediately? Because we can help. We can send things. We can send empathy, send prayers. We are more able to provide assistance to this type of things happening everywhere in the world because of intellectual progress that brings moral progress with it. Yeah. Okay, so we leave Degenerate Peoples for next month. Next week. It's an interesting item. Talks about the changes of spirits in in different places, but that we'll talk about next week. So what we have this weekend, on Saturday, we have a very interesting talk that will be by Dr. Rejane Planner from Austria. She's a scientist, and she's a very good scientist. And she's going to talk about the conscious expression of mediumship. Okay, this is Saturday at 11 a.m. by Rejane Planner from Austria. We on Sunday we'll be studying the book Jesus in the Home. The book club started a new book yesterday. If you missed, you can join for Chapter 1 next week. They discussed the introduction yesterday. The book is called Ardou's Ascension. It's by the spirit Victor Hugo, the author of Les Miserables. And it's through the psychography of Divaldo Franco. Okay? Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, John. And thank you, Elmo. Thank you also, Philip, for reading for us this evening, and everyone who is here participating. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks to be together as brothers and sisters for our studies of the Spirit's Book, Book 3, Chapter 8, the topic being the March of Progress. The law of progress evolves at different rates and levels throughout society, both morally and intellectually. Progress cannot be stopped. The law of progress resides within our individual consciousness. Free will follows the development of intelligence. Eventually, the two distinct forces will balance out during the course of time. Human laws will eventually align with divine justice. Humans cannot remain in a state of ignorance forever. Progress is slow, but it will occur. It is the natural law. We are moving toward creating a planet of regeneration where goodness will prevail. Pride and selfishness are obstacles along the way. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us today. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all our participants. We pray for inner peace and especially now for world peace and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we go forth now and remind ourselves to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.